I've come to realize that I'm genuinely bad at not only making friends, but keeping friends. Um, Making friends, that's a whole separate issue, right? Um, I've seen a bunch of memes online and videos talking about how introverts don't make friends. They get adopted by people, and it's funny, but to an extent, I feel like it's true because I feel like the few friends that I've made throughout my lifetime, they've kind of come up to me and decided to befriend me, and that was that. I've never really been the one to try to make friends on my own. I don't know if it's a neurodivergent thing, but I've also realized that the friends that I have made, I mean, there's a couple of friends that I made in high school and middle school that I occasionally keep in touch with through like social media, Facebook and Instagram. But um, for the most part, I'm very bad at keeping friends, and this has been a pattern for as long as I can remember. I have like this thing where I'll get really attached to like one person, and it's you know, for as long as I can remember, like back in elementary, third grade and fourth grade, I remember having just one really close friend, and then we had some sort of a falling out, or they started hanging out with a crew of like new people, or they tried to add like more people to our little friend group, which was initially just myself and the other person. Something always happened where like I always ended up being the one left out, or for some reason the friendships just didn't continue. And then thinking about like more recent friendships that I've made as an adult, it's harder as an adult, especially as a mom, to make friends. But I was thinking back in like 2021, 2022, when I was finishing up my undergrad. So I did my first 2 years at a community college. And then 2020, I transferred to university to do my last 2 years. But my first year was entirely via Zoom, just my luck, right? Because it was right in the middle of a COVID. And then my last year of university of my undergrad, because I'm in graduate school, but we're talking undergrad here, was actually in person. So that was like 2021 to 2022, I think. Um, and I made a friend, and she and I, we were pretty close, and we would go out to eat in between classes during lunch. And I don't drive, so she would occasionally even pick me up from my house, or take me home. And um, we were pretty close. We would like stay on each other about making sure that assignments were completed. And then after that, like after we graduated, after we both got our bachelor's degree, it's like we just didn't talk after that. I do remember asking her at some point if she had like a Facebook or an Instagram, and she said that she didn't really do social media, so she didn't have any accounts. But I did keep her number, so there was really nothing stopping me from like checking in on her every once in a while and texting her to make sure that everything was going okay, and just kind of keeping that connection going. But for some reason, I'm very bad at maintaining and keeping friendships, and that's what I'm coming to realize. I think I might have texted her like, I don't know, like a year after we graduated, to let her know that I had started working as an SLP, and that I was working as an SLP on a waiver, and that I was in graduate school. And she said something like, "Congrats, that's awesome." And then the conversation after that just um, didn't continue. And I was likely the one who didn't continue the conversation because I tend to do that. And I think part of that is maybe my ADHD, maybe it's part of being neurodivergent. I don't know, but I've just come to realize that not only is it difficult for me to make friends, it's also difficult for me to keep friends. My closest friends are really like my sister and family members, cousins, and because they're kind of always around. They come around. It's kind of hard to lose touch with family members. And so I would say that my family is probably my main support circle, but I I don't know. I don't know if I just never learned how to properly make and keep friends. I don't know if it's just a neurodivergent thing where we just suck at making friends and maintaining friendships. And as you get older, of course, I'm 35 now, and I have a son, and all of these other responsibilities and things going on. I think as you get older, it becomes increasingly difficult to make friends and keep friends. And so it just sucks that the few friends that I've made um, throughout, like in adulthood, I haven't been able to keep. I guess there's nothing really stopping me from, texting that person again and just being like, hey, how have you been? But at this point, it's been like almost 3 years, and I feel like it would just be weird and awkward to do that. Um, and yeah, I just realized I get really attached to like one person at a time. And then it's weird or awkward for me if that person tries to bring more people into our circle. And I don't know why that is. Could be because I'm very introverted and socially anxious, and that probably plays a part in it too. But I mean, I don't want to, it's not necessarily because I'm being possessive. I just have a hard time um, being in a crowd or a group of people and trying to be authentic. It's just a lot easier for me to be authentic with one person at a time, if that makes sense. And I've noticed that um, that's kind of always been a pattern in my life. Um, but yeah, this was just a random thought that was like kind of popped into my head because not too long ago my therapist asked me about, who was my main support system outside of my family, and if I had friends that I still talk to, if I ever thought about dating again after my divorce. And then I've just come to realize that I don't really have all that many friends, and I was trying to think about why that is. I mean, I know I was bullied a lot growing up because of my cerebral palsy. I do have a disability, for those who are new here. And I know that that in itself made it difficult for me to make friends. But other than that, I just remember this consistent pattern of being really close to one person and then having some sort of falling out or just not keeping in touch and not being able to really maintain friendships in the long term. And that's true even um, in adulthood. That's what I've kind of come to realize now. But yeah, that is pretty much it.